You may think Soldier is overrated, or useless even. Well, you might be right.
Hey.
I forced myself to play only Soldier until I added 1000 more eliminations to know how it feels to be Soldier. Although I have played a lot of Overwatch, only until now do I take such a deep plunge into a certain hero. So let's talk about it. I started as a mediocre Soldier player, and there was some room to improve for sure, mechanically and position wise. One thing was said to me halfway through that really turned it around for me. Soldier, you are not Reaper. And of course, they were right. I realised I was spending a lot of time in the game next to the tank. They were Roadhog at the time, so I was not protected with a form of shield, and I would often find myself dying next to them. This is bad positioning. Soldier isn't a close range hero, nor is he a particular great long range hero. Apart from one part of his kit, and we'll get to that. But Soldier is a great medium range hero, fitting in the gap between Reaper, Tracer, Genji, and Ashe, Widow or Hanzo. Soldier works very well in that in-between range, and particularly when high up. This makes the Helix rocket easier to hit, and shots on you harder to hit. This wasn't so difficult to learn. It is very appealing when defending to be on the high ground. It's an absolute no-brainer in fact. It's often harder for the attackers to get the high ground, so they won't fight you on the same level. But also that means it's harder for you when you're attacking to get to the high ground. So by the time you get the chance to have it, you're already moving past it. This means your attacking positioning needs to be a little bit more tamed. To remind you, you are not a Reaper. Position away from the tank, but close enough so your damage doesn't fall off. You are there to chip away at people over a long period of time, rather than burst them down with big meaty shots. To play off of that a bit, you also need to know to pick your targets well. There is no point spraying into a tank when they are not already low, and all the supports are up. Put pressure on the tank, sure, but when the opportunity to whistle down a support or DPS, take it. First of all, your tank or other DPS may be able to finish off the work that you are putting in. And second of all, you might be able to finish the job entirely. The best way to make sure you can do that is doing your best to perfect what is the piece of kit I alluded to earlier, the long range Helix rocket. This thing is a piece of beauty. It is, for me, the most satisfying way to finish an enemy off. I cannot tell you once I realised how powerful the Helix rocket is at range, and the direct damage it causes, how often I would hope that I would have the chance to fire it. I must have gotten pretty lucky. A majority of the times this opportunity surfaced itself, most of the times I hit it. Sometimes even the close range ones felt just as good, flicking to a jumping Genji and then seeing them leave a message in the chat would bring warmth to my cold heart. This is what bumps up Soldier into the longer range of things when it comes to DPSing. Without the use of his right click at range, a lot of the time, if you are fighting an enemy alone, with no one else on them, they can often and easily be saved by a support out healing your damage. This could be a comment on my ability more than Soldier's worth, really. But there is one thing that a support cannot out-heal. Oh yes, just like the Tracer video, this is one of the heroes that will really get your blood flowing. Just when you hear that. Oh boy, and it's not just Anna. Well, that's 2 montages. Already doing better than my Tracer video. Oh boy, either you hit like a truck, or eliminate your opponent with 1,000 cuts. Sometimes though, it can be a bit of a fleeting moment, when you realise everyone's already dead, and you probably mistimed your ult. But, as you just saw, you can really put out some damage. And as you learn and improve as Soldier, you become a bit of a play of the game machine. I got so many more on the second half of this journey in comparison to Tracer, and it makes sense. Tracer is a bit more of a specialist, where Soldier is more of a generalist. The chance of stringing multiple kills together is much higher on Soldier, I think. Especially if you're nice to your Mercy. Always be nice to your Mercy. A good wave and a voice line here or there can kind of go a long way. Look, Soldier is nothing special, when talking about benefiting from a Mercy particularly, but again, you're a poking kind of DPS, and the pokes hit that much harder when damage boosted. Speaking of Mercies though, this Swiss is impossible to kill when she is ulted. Like, it is a me problem, but if she ults, I don't bother anymore. I wait for her to chill out. I find myself focusing the Mercy most based on the people I have played. Supports in general, of course, but I think I started to hold a grudge against them because they would embarrass me the most. Some ults spent just trying to kill her for a majority of the time, or even singling them out in the middle of a fight just to secure it even if I go down. If I'm dead, you can finish this. Duh. But it turns out you're pretty effective at singling out these supports. But to move back to the ults, some maps with no height, you need to be a bit more creative and use the flank to get it done. And again, some of these felt like absolute duds, but either way, you're either a good distraction to open up the push, or you just kill people. One of the two. You can get deleted as well sometimes. And Hanzo is an expert at that. So many ults completely nullified as I round a corner and get beamed in the face by a Hanzo. Understandably, I didn't catch them all on the recordings, because I was probably a bit too sour to realise how much of an impression these Hanzos have against soldiers. I was not anticipating so many ults just destroyed by Hanzo spam or surprises. At that point, the plan of action became longer distance ults, hopefully boosted by Kiriko, Ana or Mercy. There is similar behaviour to have against Widows as well, of course. But really, Soldier is a strong matchup for a lot of heroes, and I did not really find as many issues as I did with Tracer. Reinhardt, Sigma, Diva, a bit of a problem, but mostly you can ignore them. To be fair, my DPSs are Hanzo, Genji, Cass and Soldier, so at least these are the ones I'm comfortable with, and it makes a lot of sense why I think he's pretty strong. I'm pretty used to Soldier. I personally believe he's a bit of a generalist, so he's never going to be a rubbish DPS. And like I said before, Tracer is more of a specialist, and I'm no great Tracer, but we understand her a bit more now. I really think Soldier is a very useful hero for starters, and even as a pro, he still has his uses. Where the cons are at their worst when you are, meaning it can be very easy to do just fine enough as long as you're not playing like an idiot. There is one feature that I didn't use much while getting to this 1000 eliminations, and that's this goofy ass dodge. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's the second in the series. I put a lot of work into this one. Make sure you subscribe because there's going to be more on the way, and leave a comment down below if you're also doing these kind of challenges.